There you were forsaken through your sacrifice. All our shame was taken. Oh, hello. I'm just watching last week's Myton Kids video. You showed us your love. Oh no! The internet's gone.
Auntie, I've got a Zoom call and I can't get on the internet.
Why's the internet gone down? I need to finish my work.
Why is the internet not working? It's been hours. I need to get online.
Oh no. I'd better phone the internet company.
Please hold. Your call is important to us. Please hold. An operator will be with you shortly. Please hold. Your call is important to us. Please hold. An operator will be with you shortly. Please hold. Your call is important to us.
Hello. That broadband company. Oh, fantastic at last. Yeah, our broadband's down. Can you fix it for us, please? Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, is it working? Is it working?
Yes, we're connected.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Our God is so amazing. His love is never ending, beyond imagination. He's worth our celebration. He deserves the loudest voice. I don't know about you, but I came here today to celebrate God in every song we sing and every game we play. We celebrate God, always amazing. His love will never end. So everybody in this place, celebrate God.
Hi, it's great to see you all again. Welcome to this week's Myton Kids. Now, last week we learnt about Joseph. God had put Joseph in the right place at the right time. Even though things had been going wrong for Joseph, God was still in control and had a plan. Today, we find out what happens next.
God to the rescue. Joseph and his brothers grew old and died, but their children's children stayed in Egypt, where they became a very large family. Later on, a new king began to rule, but this Pharaoh didn't remember Joseph, and he didn't like God's people. He made them into his slaves and beat them and made them work harder and harder. God's people cried out to God to rescue them, and God heard them. He remembered his promise to Abraham. He would look after his people. He would find a way to set them free. One day, Moses was looking after sheep when something caught his eye. A bush was behaving very oddly. It was flickering with flames, but its leaves weren't burning up. He took a closer look. "Moses!" boomed a big voice. Moses leapt back. The bush was talking to him. "I've heard my people's cries," God said. "I've seen their tears, so I have come down to rescue them. Go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go free." Moses was afraid, but God said, "I'll be with you."
But things haven't turned out very well for the Israelites. They're now slaves for the Egyptian king, the Pharaoh. They cry out to God in their misery, and God hears them and he begins a rescue plan. Something that's not in today's story is about our character Moses. As a baby, he was saved by God. You might remember the story of Moses in the bulrushes. And Pharaoh's daughter actually rescues him and takes him to the palace. Now Moses finds out about the trouble the Israelites are in, and as a young man he tries to help, but he kills an Egyptian and then he runs away.
So in the story we actually meet Moses for the first time, but it's many years later, and he's a shepherd out in the fields. As he minds his own business, minding the sheep, he spots something which you might think strange, you might think not. There's a bush on fire. That's not strange. But even though the bush has flames in it, the bush isn't being consumed by the fire. It's not burning up. And even stranger than that is a voice comes from the bush. And it's God. And God has a job for Moses. He says, "Go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go free." This made Moses feel very afraid.
I wonder whether you've ever been afraid when you've been asked to do something. Perhaps at school your class teacher might ask you to take a note or a message to the office, or another class teacher can often make us feel a bit anxious. Or perhaps your parent has asked you to pop next door to pick up that parcel that's been delivered. Again, that might make us feel a bit afraid. But we can remember that God goes with us when we're feeling afraid. Let's see how God helped Moses. So Moses went to Pharaoh. "Pharaoh," Moses began, "God says." "God," said Pharaoh, "never heard of him." Moses kept going. "God says, let his people go free." "Why should I?" Pharaoh said. "Don't want to, won't." So he didn't. So God gave Pharaoh 10 warnings called plagues. First, God turned the river Nile into blood. No one could drink the water, but still Pharaoh would not let them go. So God made frogs come hopping and leaping and jumping. In your bed, frogs. In your hair, frogs. In your soup, frogs. All over everywhere, frogs. "Make them go away," Pharaoh screamed. Then your people can go." So God took the frogs away. But Pharaoh changed his mind. "You can't go," he said. Then God sent zillions of gnats. But still Pharaoh said, "No." So then God sent swarms of flies, flies buzzing in your eyes, flies. And after that, sickness and horrible boils and huge hailstones and a storm of locusts. Then darkness when it should have been day, until it seemed that the whole world, creation and everything was coming undone, falling back into darkness and emptiness and nothingness. Then each time Pharaoh said, "Make it stop and then I'll let them go." And each time when God made it stop, Pharaoh changed his mind and said, "Actually, no, you can't go." Finally, Moses warned Pharaoh, "Obey God or he will have to send the worst thing of all." Pharaoh just laughed.
So Pharaoh was being stubborn. He repeatedly was refusing to let God's people go, even though he said he would. And even though God sent 10 warnings or plagues. The Israelites had been in Egypt for hundreds of years. I thought I'd been waiting for the internet to be fixed for a long time. And that's the trouble when you're waiting. It can seem like a long time. Can you think of something that you've been waiting for that can seem like a long time, even though it might only be a few minutes?
It's frustrating that Pharaoh kept changing his mind, but he didn't want to let the people go because he didn't want to lose his slaves. God didn't give up on his rescue plan though. He'd heard his people complaining and grumbling, crying out to him in their distress. Moses knew that God was with him when he kept going back repeatedly to Pharaoh to ask for the Israelites to be set free, because he knew that that was part of God's rescue plan. The last warning led to that rescue.
So God said, "The oldest boy in each family of Egypt must die, but my people will be safe." God told his people to take their best lamb, to kill it, and to put some of its blood on their front doors. "When God passes over your house," Moses explained, "God will see the blood and know that the lamb died instead of you." That night, it was just as God had said. Suddenly, piercing the darkness, echoing down the corridors of the palace, came a blood-curdling scream. Pharaoh's oldest son had died. And at last, Pharaoh did what God said. "Get out!" Pharaoh shouted. "Just go!" And so, that very night, Moses and God's people fled out of Egypt and out of slavery. They were free at last. God's people would always remember this rescue and call it Passover. But an even greater rescue was coming. Many years later, God was going to do it again. He was going to come down once more to rescue his people. But this time God was going to set them free forever and ever.
Finally, God warned that the eldest boy in each house in Egypt had to die. But God had a plan to keep his people safe. He gave his people instructions, and he would keep them safe if they obeyed him. Blood from an unblemished, clean lamb had to be painted on the doorposts, and when God came, he would pass over the house that he saw the blood on.
The Jewish people still celebrate the Passover to this day, remembering God's great rescue. Jesus was celebrating the Passover with his disciples on the evening before he died. As Christians, we know that Jesus came to be our rescuer. He rescued us from our sin by dying on the cross, sacrificing himself to rescue us.
In the Bible, Jesus is called the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. We don't have to offer sacrifices anymore because Jesus was the last sacrifice needed. He was the greatest rescuer.
Jesus, when you died, it looked like a failure. All your friends had gone. They thought it was over. Jesus, when you died, you did not deserve it. This was all God's plan. You knew it was worth it. Thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us. We will always thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us on the cross. Jesus, when you died, 'cause when you died, all our sin was paid for. Now we're free to live the life that we were made for. One with God above, living as his children. We trust in his words, knowing you fulfill them. Thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us. We will always thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us on the cross. Thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us. We will always thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us on the cross. Thank you that you died for us on the
Now, we're going to have a little look at an activity that will help you remember some of the aspects of today's story and some of the things that we learn from it. We're going to make lamb toast. See, there's a picture of a lamb up there. It's really easy to do, so I'm going to show you now. There's a template that we're sending out with this week's video, and so you need that, and you need a slice of bread on something hard like a plate, and a spoon.
Thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us. We will always thank you, Jesus, thank you that you died for us on the cross.
In church, we remember Jesus' death. Have you ever seen these when you've been to church? A glass of wine and some bread. These help us to remember Jesus' death on the cross and his sacrifice.
The wine represents Jesus' blood, and the bread represents his body. The Israelites recognised that the lamb died instead of them. Today, we recognise that Jesus dies instead of us.
And that's amazing, isn't it? I think we should pray and thank him for that right now.
Thank you, Jesus, that you are our rescuer. Thank you that we are rescued by your blood, the blood of the Lamb who died for us. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so that's everything we've got time for this week, but we're going to find out more about Moses and the next part of the rescue next time. Until then, have a great week.
Bye.